everybody. Welcome back to my sister's diary. I'm your host, Sam, and I hope everyone's having a great week. I am trying to remember what I wrote down as my little entry thing, and I am totally spacing it. But basically, if you're new here, this is a podcast where it'll feel like you're reading your sister's diary. This is essentially like my diary, and I'm like your parasocial sister, although I'm not famous, so I can't really be parasocial, but you understand what I'm saying. So it's like reading my diary, but reading your sister's diary. We spill tea, we talk about all the kinds of things that you would probably read from your sister's diary. So that's what we have today. Actually, no, I didn't even tell you what we have today. Sorry, my mind is like jumbled because I have had so much going on lately, and it's not like a lot of stuff that I can share, I guess, to you guys, because it's like not my business to share, I guess. So I won't really dive into exactly what I've been doing. I know that's annoying. I'm like, oh, I'm so busy, but like I'm not gonna tell you guys why. But anyway, I've been helping my parents with some things, and I started this huge project at my house. Actually, I started 2 projects at my house, and I'll get into those later. But back to what I was saying. Today's episode, it is spooky season, as you guys know, and last week I did a little throwback to Call Your Sisters, and we talked about spooky stories, and that is one of my favorite episodes. And if you guys haven't listened to that, please go back and give it a listen. It's one of my very favorites. And this week we are still sticking to the theme of spooky, but you want to know what is one of the spookiest things of all time? Telling a lie. Telling a lie is spooky because, let me tell you, like the adrenaline that you feel when you tell a lie and you're like, I have to get away with this, so I need it to be good. Or I don't know if this happens to you guys, but like it happens to me sometimes where I'll be saying something, and then I'm like, I start lying, and then I'm like, why did I just say that? Because that's not even true. And then someone kind of questions you on it, and you have to just like dig yourself further and further and further into the lie. That happens to me sometimes, and it's over the stupidest stuff. It's literally not even important, and I can't even remember an example right now because it's the most trivial, surface level crap that I'm like, yeah, I've totally done that before, or this happened to me once. So that's what we're talking about today. I asked you guys what your biggest lies you've ever told were. Not even necessarily biggest, but just like lies that you've told, and bonus points if you got caught in it. That's the worst feeling in the world, is getting caught in a lie. And I'm trying to think of a time. The only time I can think of off the top of my head, because it was so mortifying, is when I lied to my best friend and told her have I told this story on this podcast before? I am not sure, but basically I told my best friend that, and it was when we first like kind of hanging out. So we know each other from when we were kids, and then as adults we kind of reconnected, and it was like when we were first hanging out again. And I texted my husband and told him, hey, I forgot to get her a Christmas present. Will you stop by and get something or whatever? And then she came to my house for a play date, and I told her like, oh yeah, I got your Christmas present. I just like left it in my husband's car. And I like spun this entire web of lies. And then I look at my phone. I'm like, why hasn't Robbie texted me back? And it's because I had texted her and told her that I forgot to get her a Christmas present after I had already lied. But I called myself out. That's the only way you can get through these things sometimes, is I told her just straight up. I was like, okay, so I sent you that text, and I'm sorry. I'm a big fat liar. And I actually felt really bad because like her friendship was really important to me. And it obviously still is, because we're like, 5 years later now? But so she forgave me. Anyway, I don't know if I've told that story before. I know for a fact I've told it on Call Your Sisters. So if you're rolling over from that to here, then you're welcome. You just heard that story one more time. So let's first, before we tell the biggest lies you guys have ever told, let's get into a little bit of my diary. So I told you guys that I was really busy, and like I said, I'm not going to like dive into the nitty gritty of what I've been doing because it's not my business to tell, but I've been, not like anything crazy or anything. I just don't like to, tell everybody else's business. But I went down to my parents' house a couple times and just helped them with some like renovations or whatever that they're doing on their house. And They live like 4 hours away, so it's an 8 hour drive total there and back, like 4 hours there, 4 hours back. So it takes up a lot of time, not only driving, but like then I'm gone for the entire weekend. And when I get back, I'm tired. And I also have 3 kids and they're in school. And I know people are like, well, everybody has stuff going on. I know. And, I just sometimes get burned out a little bit with I don't want to say the podcast necessarily, but sometimes it's hard to like keep the creative juices flowing and like I don't know. It's very like when you're doing something like you like to have I don't know, like reward, I guess. And sometimes with the podcast it's hard to see like if you have an episode that doesn't do as well, it's easy to get discouraged. And so sometimes that happens to me and then I'm like, well, why do I even do this now? And I throw myself a huge pity party and I feel like I've been wallowing in that a little bit too much lately. So that was kind of a tangent. I don't know why I went on that. But anyway, yeah, so I am back from my weekend getaways. I went to St. George. I went down to my parents' house twice. And now I'm back. And I decided to, on Facebook Marketplace, actually, I didn't even really think about this before. I was just scrolling Facebook Marketplace like, us old people do. And I found this gigantic, well, actually, I didn't know it was gigantic. I found this dollhouse and I knew it was big because she said in the description that it was big. And it looked like the person had kind of started, like redoing it or whatever, making it cute. And it was only $20. So I was like, that would be super fun to do for my daughter for Christmas. So I told her I wanted it. I cleaned out the back seat of my car. And then when I got there, the thing was massive. It's almost as tall as me, which isn't saying like much, but I'm 5'3", 5'4" ish. And it's almost as tall as me. It's massive and it's really wide and maybe not wide. Yeah, wide. Not like depth, but like width. You know what I'm saying? And I couldn't fit it in the back of my car. So the lady's husband helped me. Well, not helped me. He did all of it. But he took off like a little side piece of it. And then we were able to kind of get it in the car. They had to see my really messy, dirty car, which was kind of embarrassing, but also I don't know them, so whatever. But yeah, I got it home and I disassembled it. Actually, we put it in our camper first and then I disassembled it. And well, actually, I got it out of the camper, which was not easy because it was kind of hard for me and my husband to get in there. But I have this thing about me where I don't wait for my husband to help me. I will just do it whatever it takes, even if it hurts me, even if I get a concussion in the process, I don't care. I'm not waiting for him to get home. If I want to do something, I'm just going to do it. So that's what I did. I got it out of the camper. I brought it inside. I disassembled the whole thing. And then I started working on the roof part. And I'm going to make a TikTok and probably a reel showing you guys kind of the process of that. And I have like a little mood board for what I want it to all look like. And I'm excited, but oh my gosh, it's going to be a lot more work than I originally thought it was going to be, which is fine. I like a project. But the other project I decided to take on and this one is kind of slow going, like I've been slowly working on it, but my kids share a room currently, my 2 oldest, and one of them's 7 and he's a boy, and one of them's 5 and she's a girl, and I feel like they're kind of getting a little too old maybe to be sharing a room, and they've both like expressed interest in having their own rooms, and we have the room available to do that. So I've been working on moving my daughter over to her own room. And one thing it used to be our guest room. So she's going to move over to like a queen size bed. And then when guests are here, the bunk beds are in the other room that they're currently in. So she'll just go sleep on the bunk beds. But anyway, you don't care about that little part, but just so you know, that's what my plan is. Anyway, there was no dresser in that room. So I took myself down to the good old Deseret Industries. And I have been scouring Facebook Marketplace for a dresser and really haven't had any luck. I don't want to spend very much money. My budget was like $50 max. But I also didn't want some dingy, crappy piece of, MDF garbage. And I wanted like solid wood. Like I really appreciate just some solid pieces of furniture. I'm not a huge fan of like, I don't know. I have IKEA pieces for sure, but I just like a good, just solid piece of furniture. So I get to the DI. There's one dresser there. And it's pretty big. It has 5 drawers. It stands up tall. and it's solid wood. I think like the top has a veneer, but other than that, like the drawers are solid. Everything's solid, and it's pretty dang heavy. But I told him I wanted it. I wasn't sure if it would fit in the back of my car, so he wrote me like a sold ticket, and I went and paid for it, and I just had to show them receipt. But I was like, I think it might fit in my car, so let me go around back. If it doesn't fit, I'll have my husband come back and get it. So this kid comes out. I felt so bad because he's like, this is my first day. I don't really know what I'm doing. And I was like, okay, well, could you go get someone who knows? He goes and asks somebody, and then he doesn't bring anybody else out with him. He just like wheels out with the dresser on a dolly, and he's like, I had my trunk open, and he's like, I don't really know. Like, he was trying to tell me like he didn't know how to lift it up, and I was like, okay, well, if you can just grab that side, then I can grab this side. Like, I'm decently strong. Like, I could probably do this for sure. I could probably do it by myself if I really wanted to, but like he's standing there, and I feel like that would be weird for me to be like, get out of the way, I'm doing this on my own. Anyway, so then he's like, hold on one sec. So he goes and gets this other kid, and this kid had chocolate all over his face. Like on SpongeBob when Patrick eats the chocolate bar and he's like, who ate my chocolate bar? And he has chocolate all over his mouth. That's what this kid looks like. I felt kind of bad, but he was like, yeah, so I don't really know how to help you guys. And I was like, then why did you come out here? Why did you come out? Anyway, I have these two kids. I think they're both like teenagers or just like really young adults. And we eventually get it in the car, and it's like just barely too long. Like, it's just barely too long. My trunk won't shut all the way, but I'm like, you know what? We got it in here. I told them, I told a lie. Okay. I will admit. I was like, I just live 2 blocks away. Like, I'll be fine. I'll just like tie it closed. I didn't have a ratchet strap in my car, but I had a tow rope, and I was like, I just wrapped it around the back of the trunk and like hooked it to some hooks we had on the inside, and it was secure. Like, it was not going to come up by any means. And they were like really skeptical to let me leave. They're like, I don't know about this. And I was like, well, I'm going to leave. And I just kind of hopped in my car and went. And yeah, I had to go really freaking slow because I was worried a little bit. Obviously, I didn't have a ratchet strap, so it wasn't like super secure, but I went slow. I took the back roads. I made it home, and I decided I was going to move this heavy A dresser all the way downstairs to my basement all by myself. And yeah, I did that. I got many bruises, and I damaged the wall downstairs in our basement. We just redid the texture in our entire basement, and I dinged the crap out of it, and don't worry, I fixed it. Well, not yet. I remudded it, and I need to repaint it. But anyway, that was a whole thing that I did, and I'm really proud of myself, for taking that dresser all the way downstairs, getting it from the DI all by myself. It was only, I think, $40, which was a really good deal. And my daughter's room is almost done. I got her a cute bedspread. I got her some cute, like vintage pictures, I guess, from the DI. And I got a shelf from my mom's house. And yeah, it's going to be really cute. And I'll post pictures when it's all the way done. I wish I was completely made of money, because then I would do whatever I dreamed of doing in there. But like, I'm on a little bit of a budget, so it's not like the room of my dreams at the end of this, but I still think it will be cute. All right, what else did I have to tell you guys? I feel like I've been rambling a lot. Let's see. Oh, I've been trying to decide if I've kind of taken a break from video recording myself during these episodes, because I honestly got so sick of editing them for like little return. I feel like they didn't get very many views. And I don't know, I almost felt like it was annoying people, which I know is just my anxiety talking. Maybe you guys are annoyed, but I don't know. Tell me if you guys think, if you like the video or if you don't like the video, if you think it's fun sometimes not. I don't know. I know everybody's saying like that's how you get seen these days, but I don't know if I have it in me to put in effort to do that every single time. But maybe I'll do it every once in a while. I just haven't been very good at that. And I don't even know if you guys give a crap about watching the video, or if you just want to see other things from me on Instagram and TikTok. Okay, let's see. I was going to talk about Halloween costumes. I don't really have anything crazy to talk about with that, though. I found a costume at the DI for my daughter for $2, and it was like a full, almost brand new little like candy princess costume. So I'm pretty jazzed about that, because oh my gosh, Halloween costumes are so expensive for the most cheaply made piece of garbage, honestly. Like, you wear it one time, it is the most thin, poorly made thing, and it costs $50. Are you kidding? No, I don't want to. I am not about that. And I'm really getting sick of it. But like, I can't tell my kids they can't be something, like, I don't want to be that mom who's like, no, you can't be this. You have to only wear homemade stuff, which, okay, I'm not dogging on homemade Halloween costumes. My mom made so many of my Halloween costumes growing up, and I loved every single one of them, truly. She made me this Hershey Kiss costume one year, and it was the best thing that I've ever worn in my life. But if I were to make my kids Halloween costumes, they would not turn out cute. They would look homemade. So I'd rather buy them if I can. All right, let's go. Let's move on. Let's go to your guys' lies, the biggest lies that you have ever told, or just lies. I guess I didn't specify that they had to be the biggest ones you've ever told. And hold on. I'm trying to pull it up. Of course, every time I try to do something on my phone while I'm recording, it takes 10,000 years. Okay. Let's start with this one. It says, lied through my middle/high school, telling my parents I had a, quote, migraine, but I actually was just on my period or needed a mental health day. She started to believe that I had a chronic migraine issue. I mean, maybe I did, and it was just all the annoying people at the school. Yeah, I mean, if you actually did have a headache, then like valid, right? But also at the same time, when you tell your parents that you're sick constantly, they will stop believing you. I know from experience. I used to try to be sick to get out of things all the time. And it got to a point where my mom was like, I don't believe you. I simply do not believe you. And then there were times when I actually was sick and she didn't believe me because, unless I was like throwing up, then she's just like, go to school. You're fine. Also, I think it's fine that you, like, if you're on your period or you're having a bad mental health day, especially during the teenage years, I don't think people understand that like PMS is more than just like being moody. Like sometimes it can be like major, like the mood swings are hard to deal with. I know as like an outsider, boys are like, oh my gosh, my girlfriend's on her period, has PMS, whatever. They don't understand. First of all, it's not when you're on your period. It's before your period is premenstrual syndrome. Whatever. Is that what it's called? That sounds like a disease. Anyway, premenstrual, that has to be it because it can't be premenstrual cycle because it's an S, PMS. Anyway, it's hard to deal with, okay? It's a lot of up and downs. Sometimes people, like for me, I used to feel really, really depressed right before my period, and it got worse as I got older. And yeah, sometimes I think people just need a mental health day when they're on their period. And I think that's totally fine. And I think, like, I hope to be the kind of mom that does that for both my I was going to say girls. I only have one girl. For both my daughter and my sons, like if I'm noticing that they just need a day, they just need a break, to like let them have that, obviously not all the time, but like, I think that's a good parenting practice. Okay, next one says, I hated my music class in college and skipped it almost every day. My professor was a grade A biatch. I love when you guys say biatch. She told me she would fail me, so I told her that my grandma was in the hospital and dying. She felt bad and let me take an exam I missed and write a big paper to make up enough of my grade to pass. Was my grandma in the hospital and dying? No. Do I feel bad? Not at all. I hated that lady. I also took a music class in college, and that lady, she was fine. She wasn't like a biatch by any means. Well, maybe. So I know some people in my class did not like her. In fact, one time we were doing a group project, and one of the girls in my maybe this is you. Maybe you're the one listening to this. But anyway, one of the girls was like bad talking her, not like insane, but like definitely, not something you'd want to walk in on. And she walks up behind her, and I was like trying to make big eyes at her and be like, stop talking, without like making it obvious. And yeah, she walks up behind her and she says something. She like calls out something. She said like, oh yeah, that lady is really mean and I hate her, or something dumb like that. Anyway, that's who my music teacher was. And you guys want to know the worst part of taking a music class? I was in elementary education. So the music class was like basically like how to teach music to kids. And I had to. So much of elementary education is like you pretending to be a little kid while other people pretend to teach you. And it's really embarrassing and takes a lot of your dignity away. And in this class, I had to play the ukulele in a little like 8x8 office in front of this lady, just me and her. I had to play the ukulele and sing a song to her for one of my exams. And that was mortifying, absolutely mortifying. I also had to play a song on the recorder for her, and she was like dead serious, like so dead serious about the recorder. Like she's like, I'm a professional. Like I have professionally recorded songs on the recorder, and I'm like, good for you, lady, but like I don't care. I'm not taking the recorder that seriously. But you know what? Now I'm actually pretty dang good at the recorder. So anyway, yeah, you go ahead and tell that lie. I hope when my kids have like when I have grandkids, or hopefully someday if I have grandkids, that they tell everybody they know. If they need something, they tell them that I'm in the hospital for 100%. If they want to call me, I'll pretend to put a fake cannula on and pretend like I'm dying in the hospital for sure. I will totally help them with that. So, whatever you need to do to get yourself through college, do it. Okay. Next one says, I'm on my way or I'm almost ready are two of the biggest lies I tell almost every day. Laughy face. Yeah. I definitely say I'm almost ready. I never say I'm on my way unless I'm actually on my way, because to me that's like, and not to like call you out and call you rude by any means, but like I like to know when people are going to get to my house. So someone texts me and they're like, I'm on my way. And then they don't. And I know it takes like 20 minutes from their house to mine, or like an hour or whatever. And then they're here like 3 hours later. And I'm like, you said you were on your way and I've been waiting around for you. Like, I don't want to be that person to the other person. And maybe when you say this, it's not that serious. You know what I mean? But I don't feel like I do that, but I definitely tell my husband I'm almost ready or I'm almost done. I tell my kids I'm almost done all the time, and I'm really not almost done, which I should stop doing, because I can only imagine how annoying that would be if my mom was always telling me, don't worry, I'm almost done, I'll come play with you, and then she's never done. That would be really annoying. So yeah, I definitely feel you. I think all of us do this in one way or another. Okay, next one says, I once told my Relief Society I made a green Jell-O salad from scratch for the ward potluck. Truth is, I bought it from Smith's, dumped it into my own glass bowl, and added a few extra marshmallows to make it look homemade. Sorry, I paused. The homemade was in quotes. Everyone raved about how it tasted just like their grandma's, and I just smiled like a domestic goddess. You are a domestic goddess, because not only did you think to do this, but you added extra marshmallows. So in my book, that is homemade. If you added something extra to something you bought from the store, that's literally a recipe, right? Like if you buy chocolate chips and you add, salt and sugar and baking soda and flour, then you just made cookies. And those are things you bought from the store. So if you buy a Jell-O salad from the store and you add marshmallows, that's a homemade Jell-O salad marshmallow salad, So you didn't even lie at all. Okay, next one says, I told my friend, quote, I never saw her text about dinner plans. She sent it to the group chat and I had responded with a heart emoji an hour after she sent it. She called me out on it. Nothing sucks more than being called out on a lie. Especially like if you lied and then like that hurt somebody's feelings and then they call you out on it and they're like, you actually hurt my feelings. And you're like, I'm so sorry. But like your sorry probably falls totally flat to them, because you're like, no, you're not. You're only sorry that you got caught. Like, you're not sorry that you did it. You're only sorry that I called you out. And you're like, yeah, you're right. I wouldn't have regretted it if you didn't call me out on it. Let's be honest. So I don't know. It's also good practice to tell people, I'm saying this, but like, I don't think I've ever literally told anybody like, hey, I actually don't want to come. But like, we should be able to do that and have people not be mad at us for it. Like we should be able to every once in a while be like, yeah, that sounds fun, but like I really need a night in by myself and let's do it at a different time, whatever. So yeah, that does suck to be called out for sure. Definitely one of the most scary, spooky feelings ever. Okay, next one says, I told my professor I couldn't turn on my camera for Zoom class because of Wi-Fi issues. I just didn't want them to see me eating cereal straight out of the box in a blanket burrito. This whole thing with classes being on Zoom just has me like pissed off for you guys because I did college before COVID, when COVID changed everything and made everything online. And I never once had to take, well, no, I took online classes, but like we didn't have face-to-face Zoom classes. It was like modules that we had to go through, and like she had recorded herself, you know what I'm saying? But like the whole Zoom classes thing is just, and I know it makes education more accessible to people in different areas who can't like travel to where college is. I don't know, and I know there's good things about it, but at the same time, I can't like the idea of paying thousands of dollars to take a course for it to be taught to me over a camera is a little much. Okay. It should be a discount. If you're doing a class on Zoom, it should 100% be a discount, and they shouldn't have to see me. I don't understand why they're like, in order to get participation points for the class today, I have to be able to see what you're doing. And I'm like, okay, if you see me, what difference? If I'm there, like if I'm logged in, then I'm there, right? And you seeing me isn't going to make me pay attention. Okay, here's the thing. If I'm not paying attention, that's on me. Like if I'm not paying attention and I get a horrible grade, that's on me, okay? And I know some professors, they get feedback based on how their class does. And so like they obviously want kids to do well, or not feedback. They get like, not like a pay grade. Anyway, they want their class to do well because then it reflects on them well. And if their class does poorly, then that like reflects their teaching. So of course they want you to pay attention, but like quit bugging me about turning my camera on. Okay. Not that has literally ever happened to me, but I know it happens to you guys and I'm in your corner 100%. Okay, next one says, in college, all my roommates were dating someone or writing a missionary, and I was not. So I made one up. I said my, quote, boyfriend was serving in Brazil and that he wrote me every week. Every Sunday, I'd fake read a letter out loud in my dorm like, he said the food there is good and he's really growing spiritually. I cannot with this. Then a few months later, I told everyone he'd broken up with me because he was focusing on the work. Everyone brought me brownies and other sympathy gifts. I got the attention I wanted, but also had to fake break up with an imaginary man and keep up the lie. Oh my gosh. I'm just picturing you being like, just like preparing your fake letter beforehand, being like, oh, and I just miss your beautiful face every single day. It's incredibly hard without you here by my side. And I'm all for this. If you want to lie, okay. Actually, I did this once to a point when I played for this soccer team one time and we went to Arizona. Yeah, I think Arizona. And it was me and one of my best friends from high school. We're on the team together. And everybody was going around telling like their first kiss or like losing their virginity stories. And like here my best friend and I are sitting there never having kissed a boy in our entire lives. And so beforehand, I don't know if it was beforehand or like quietly to each other while we were, sitting there listening to these stories, we were like, we're going to lie. And like, you cannot call me out on it. And we're like, yeah, totally. We won't call you out on it. And I don't remember what I said. Honestly, I don't remember what I said. I can't remember if I even said anything, but like, I remember that she did. And I was just like, yeah, that totally happened 100%. And like looking back, they totally knew we were lying. They absolutely knew. And they thought we were major losers. And you know what? I probably was. So it's fine. I will get over it eventually. But yeah, also you saying that you got the attention you wanted is just a queen behavior. I'm not going to lie. It's iconic, truly. And I think this was a great idea. And I support you in your fake boyfriend. Okay, next one says, when I was like 12, I stole $20 from my mom's purse because I wanted to go to the movies with my friends. She noticed, and of course, I immediately blamed my brother. I could have come clean, but I didn't. I watched him deny it for days while I sat there acting all self-righteous like, wow, just tell the truth. He got grounded for a week. I bought popcorn and Sour Patch Kids. To this day, I still feel a little guilty when I see a $20 bill. Oh, this is like, this is just classic sibling behavior. Like if you didn't blame something you did on your siblings at least once, then you don't really love your siblings. Like it's also the same idea of like people who are nice to their siblings. I'm like, do you guys love each other? Because why are you being nice? It's weird. I'm nice to my siblings to an extent. Like I'll hype them up and support them through life. But like I will also tell them that they're ugly and that I hate them. Obviously kidding, but you know what I mean? Like if you're nice to your siblings and you never like tease them or make jokes, why? Why Do you actually love each other? That's what I really want to know. Do you actually love each other if you're not a little bit mean to each other? I don't know. I don't know if I would believe it. Let's see. What else was I going to say? Oh, this reminds me of one time my little sister, Kate, she's been on the podcast before. We did call her sisters. She got gum in her hair. And we had like this full on interrogation. Like my mom was sitting in the kitchen holding her hair with the gum in it. And like whoever was being interrogated at the moment was sitting on a stool. And she was just like grilling us, like, tell me if you did it. Tell me if you did it. No, I didn't do it. Anyway, this goes on for like days. It was a long time. And then come to find out, she put the gum in her own hair. She put the gum in her own hair. And I don't remember how we found out, but we did. And obviously we still talk about it. So yeah. Anyway, Kate, you're a liar. Okay, next one says, there was this guy I really liked who was obsessed with Star Wars. I told him I was too. When he asked my favorite movie, I panicked and said, oh, I love the third one. He said, which trilogy? I had no idea there were trilogies. He invited me over to watch The Empire Strikes Back, and I spent the entire movie pretending to know what was happening. I kept saying things like, that's the guy from the space thing, and loved the symbolism. When he said, can you believe that plot twist? I nodded, like, totally saw it coming. I'm also a little bit guilty of this. My husband and his family like love Star Wars, not like too, like they don't talk about it all the time, but like they definitely love it. And I was like, yeah, I also love it for sure. Like I'd seen the Star Wars movies, but like if you asked me to explain the plot to you, I would be like, Darth Vader was Luke's father, and that's literally all I know about it. And to me, like, is there really any other plot? Like, isn't that just like the whole thing? Right? Anyway. Yeah, I've definitely pretended to understand what's going on during Star Wars and absolutely not even known what's going on. Also, when the most recent new one came out, we went to it as a family and I fell asleep in the movie theater and I had to pretend like I didn't because I didn't want people to think I was ungrateful because they paid for me to go. Anyway, yeah, if when I was reading this and you're like, which trilogy? And you said I had no idea there were trilogies. I had to think about it for a while. I'm like, what do you mean there's trilogies? Like there's more than one. And then I realized it's like the original ones from like 1970 or whatever. And then there's like the 2000s, early 2000s ones. And then there's like the new ones with like Kylo Ren. I think that's another trilogy, right? So like there's 3 different ones. Also, if you ask me to tell you where The Empire Strikes Back falls in there, I have no idea. I swear all of them have the word clone or Jedi or Empire in the title. And like, how can we have the same title of 8 different movies? I don't know. But yeah, so I also support the girlies for lying to their boyfriends. I'm totally fine with that. Okay, next one says, I'm an avid reader and have to pretend that I'm super into normal books like Colleen Hoover and Taylor Jenkins Reid. In reality, my Kindle looks like it should have a privacy screen. That should be a thing if it's not. Whenever someone asks me what I'm reading, I just say something vague like, oh, it's a historical romance about resilience. Technically not wrong if resilience means the heroine handles 12 chapters of spicy drama without needing therapy. I even joined a book club once and had to make up fake moral takeaways for a book that was basically 400 pages of smut and shirtless farmers. You know, I think that there's a lot more smut girlies out there than the girlies are willing to admit. Okay, I think there's quite a few of you. I have dabbled into some smut, and I will tell you guys, sometimes it gets a little too crazy for me. Like it gets a little too crazy. Like it gets to the point where I'm like cringing, where I'm listening and I'm like, ugh, I'm literally making like a grossed out face as I'm listening, and I'm like, this is too much. This is too much for me. I can't handle it. But if that's what you like, I'm not going to yuck your yum for sure. Do whatever you want. That's your prerogative. I don't really care what you listen to. And okay, when you say normal things like Colleen Hoover, are we going to pretend like her books are normal? Because have you guys read Verity? And have you read the bonus chapters of Verity? Those are freaking messed up. Those chapters I wish never existed. I wish I'd never read them because they kind of ruined it. Not that Verity was like... Okay, Verity was one of the weirdest books I had read in quite some time. Not weirdest, but like most disturbing probably. And I ate it up though. I read the whole thing in one night. I won't even lie to you. And I do like Colleen Hoover in some ways, but also her books aren't like gold star. So I guess you could say like into normal books. When I first started reading kind of like some more smut, I thought Colleen Hoover was like dirty. Like, I thought it was like basically porn that I was reading. And then I was recommended a few other books, and I was like, oh my gosh, Colleen Hoover is like very vanilla compared to all of this, and I'm a little scared. I'm a little bit scared. So yeah, anyway, joining the book club is just funny. And also, if you have a Goodreads account and you don't want people to know you're reading smut, then don't don't rate those books, okay? Because people will see. Because sometimes I'm nosy and I go onto Goodreads and see what people are reading and see what they're rating. So I will know if you're reading some hockey, smut book that's called actually, okay, I won't say who it is, but someone told me that they read a book one time that was called Pucked In or Pucked Up, like with P, and it was a hockey book, and they're like, I didn't know it was going to be smutty. And I'm like, the title alone is a pun. So you should have known. You should have known that was going to be very extremely smut. Okay. Next one says, I told everyone growing up my dad coached Serena Williams, but honestly, I thought he did because he's a tennis coach. LOL, he didn't. No, there's nothing wrong with a lie that you don't know is a lie, because in your mind, that's true. So you're not really lying, right? Like I used to tell... Actually, no, I'm not even going to say this because it's inappropriate and it would embarrass the person I'm talking about. But I told a lot of people one time. I got two words mixed up. One of them is a sickness and one of them is a sexually transmitted disease. And I told a lot of people that this person that I knew had the thing that wasn't the sickness. I told them that it was a sexually transmitted disease, not knowing that that's what it was. So, yeah, anyway, at least you didn't do that. Your dad coaching Serena Williams is way better than telling people that someone you know has a sexually transmitted disease. Okay. Or infection, whatever you call it now these days. Okay, next one says, I'm a booger picker through and through. I'll just let you guys, I'm going to read that again. I'm a booger picker through and through. Not me, this person. When I was maybe 4 or 5, I was with my dad and he had to stop at his office. He parked along the curb down Main Street and I was chilling in the car. I started going to town on my boogies. Yeah, this said, I started going down on my boogies. I'm assuming they meant going to town on my boogies. I hope that's what it meant. Okay. Eventually, I picked out my brains and started gushing blood. There was nothing to clean up the blood, so it just kept gushing. I grabbed a red Solo cup and held it up to my nose. I started crying because I was covered in blood. I opened the car door and laid on the sidewalk. I'm sorry. You laid on the sidewalk and just cried because I had been caught and there was nothing talking my way out of being a booger picker. The ladies at the next door office ran out and scooped me up. We went into their office and they grabbed me some paper towels. They asked if I had fallen out of the car. My perfect out. I cried and said yes, I did. They went next door to get my dad and proceeded to tell him I had fallen out of the car and hit my nose. My pride was saved and my dad felt really bad. You like getting out of the car and throwing yourself onto the sidewalk is queen behavior. Once again, I love you guys. I love everything you guys do. You think on your feet. This is incredible. This is perfect. You thought of I know you didn't do it on purpose, but like this was the only way you could have gotten out of this with dignity still. And I'm happy that it happened for you. But also you should probably stop picking your nose. I mean, okay, I lie. I pick my nose. If there's a booger in my nose, I'm going to get it out. Okay. 100%. But it's not going anywhere near my mouth. Okay. If you're a grown up and you pick your nose and you eat it, you need to go. You need a lobotomy. Okay. You do. Okay. Next one said, I ran over my sister's foot with our golf cart. We had all decided that we were lying and she just jumped out of a tree because we had just gotten driving privileges back. It was going great until she went to the hospital a week later. I broke her foot. My mom came home and told me, doctor said her foot looked crushed. I was like, Mom, I know we ran her foot over. I was in big trouble and not allowed to take the car after that. And I was pissed at my little sister for coming clean. We laugh about it now though. I love a story that you can laugh about now because nothing's worse than like having a story that like everybody remembers, but like you can't talk about it because it's not funny. I love stories that are funny with my family. And, we're really good at turning any story into something funny. And I love that about my family. And it sounds like you guys also do this. So I love that for you too. I think now as a parent, I look back at some of the things that we told my parents and I'm like, yeah, they knew. They 100% knew we were lying and they just didn't have the energy for it. I think most of the time parents know, unless like you're a sneaky teenager, then I think parents sometimes don't know. But like as a kid, they know. They absolutely know. They know most of the time. And if they don't get mad at you, it's because they don't have the energy for it. Okay, next one says, every time my sister brushed her teeth when we were kids, she would gag so much when she would brush her tongue. This grossed me out so much, so I came up with a little lie that if she brushed her tongue, then all of her taste buds would fall off. She believed this until we were 18 and 20. The only reason she found out was because I was brushing my tongue and she freaked out and reminded me that I would scrub off all my taste buds. I couldn't stop laughing. You know, I would absolutely believe this too, because sometimes when I am brushing my tongue, I'm like, am I brushing too hard? am I going to brush my taste buds off? Or like if I'm scraping my tongue, I'm like, I better not scrape too hard because I don't want to, damage my tongue. Or that's really not going to happen unless you're literally taking sandpaper to your tongue. And then you might rub your taste buds off. I don't know. I don't even know if it's possible, truly. But I love that you were like, you know what? I'm not having this. I will not listen to her gag one more time. So I'm going to come up with a solution and tell her this. I just love it. There's so many things as kids that like people tell us that we just believe as gospel. Like I remember in 5th grade, my teacher told us, like it was a sick season, like cold season, and everybody was going so much. And it was even annoying me as a student who like didn't really care, but I could tell it was annoying my teacher. And so she told us, she came up with this whole freaking lie about how if we do that, then the boogers will go into our brain and it could cause cancer. And I went home and told my mom, and she's like, that is the biggest, fattest lie I've ever heard in my life. And it's not true. So if you're going to tell kids something, make sure it's not like so unbelievable that they ask their parents about it, because then they'll out you for lying. Also, that's kind of rude as a teacher to tell their 5th grade students that they're going to get brain cancer if they sniff their boogers, because sometimes you just got to sniff them. Okay. Next one says, my dad, okay, this is the last one. This is the last one. It's a good one. So buckle up. My dad was notorious for telling us kids lies or stories, we'd like to call them. When I was in 5th grade, we went to Wyoming to see Jackson Hole. On the way there, my dad said he would do all the talking because everyone spoke Wyomingese. Wyomingese, like, a language. Anyway, I was so worried about the whole time. When we got out of the car and were preparing to cross the road, a group of people walked up beside us, and I looked over and smiled, and a Chinese woman started speaking in Chinese to me. I was shook after we walked away, and then I looked at my mom and dad I looked at my dad and asked him if he knew what they said, and he just smiled and nodded. In recent years, my mom told us how proud of himself he was, and he couldn't have planned it better for this tourist group to be the first people we came in contact with. I did later realize that not everyone was speaking a different language. This is perfect. This is like, he seriously, this is like I feel like this is a Phil Dunphy move. Like, he would absolutely do this, and like, you couldn't have planned it better, because like they were speaking a different language, but in your mind, like you probably had never, well, maybe not never, but as a kid, you probably hadn't been exposed that much to different languages. Like, I think it takes a while for kids to be exposed to lots of different languages. Like, it takes, like they're kids. They're just experiencing life for the first time. So hearing Chinese was probably not that common for you. So then you hearing it, and after he just told you that people speak Wyomingese, you're like, 100% that's Wyomingese. And my dad can understand, so he knows what they were saying. I love that. I love your dad for that. He's iconic. And I like these kind of lies. They create memories for childhood. They create, depth and character for our lives. And I like that. So I think we should all tell little lies like this, not humongous lies that are like, life-changing or like, I don't know the word I'm looking for. Just like bad lies. Like, don't do that. Don't dig yourself into a huge hole that you can't get out of. Like, don't cheat on your spouse and lie about it. But, tell your children that you speak Wyomingese. I think that's great. And anyway, I love you guys. I hope you have a great week, and I will see you next week. I can't remember what next week's episode is, but I am doing scary stories soon. Let's see, next week. No, not next week, but the next week we're doing spooky stories, and I still need some more submissions. So I'm going to put that back up on my Instagram. And if you guys are on the fence about whether you should share it or not, just share it, because I'll go through them and I'll decide which ones should be shared. And if you're not sure, just do it. Just share the story. All right. Anyway, yeah, I love you guys. I hope you have a fantastic day, and I'll see you next week on My Sister's Diary. Bye.